10th episode of the Friends of Mine podcast. We're back. We've had a few weeks off because there's been some things going on, to say the least.
Yeah, Liverpool top of the league. All important stuff.
So I personally would like to take this opportunity for myself and on behalf of all the listeners to say congratulations to you and Joe for the birth of a beautiful Frankie. I've just met her for the first time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, she's hard work, bless her, and sleep deprived at the moment. I was having a snooze just before you turned up, actually. Joe's like, Dean, Wayne's at the door. I was like, yeah, okay. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's going really well. It's good. Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but a bit of a culture shock as well, do you know what I mean? But in a good way. Yeah, I can't even really explain the whole experience. It was all a bit of a whirlwind. But yeah, so she's she's just over 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks yesterday. In some ways that's gone really quickly, but in other ways it's not, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's going really well. Back to work on Tuesday, which will be, I think, hard because leaving, not being at home all day or being about, I think I quite enjoy changing the nappies and trying to feed her and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's going really well. Bit of a different Christmas as well. But yeah, so far so good, mate.
Good. So how was the actual, around the birth? Was it?
Yeah, it was all okay until about the last sort of, I suppose, the last hour. So we went on the Friday night for Joe to be induced. I went home, went back Saturday morning, and her waters had broken. And a lot of the day, I'll just be honest with you, I just sat there watching the football on my phone because not what I can do. Joe was high on gas and air and everything else.
You weren't?
No. Dan kept saying to me, "You've got to try it before you go. You've got to try it." But unfortunately, there was always a midwife in the room, so he wasn't there. Yeah, and then they came in about 7 o'clock and said, they spoke about the possibility of a C-section. Conversation was had and was like, oh, we'll leave it a couple of hours. And then literally they came back in 20 minutes later and said, no, we're going to do a C-section and we're going to do it now. So you literally get given these scrubs and get told to change, and they put you in this little room and they say, well, we'll come and get you in a minute. And it felt like a lifetime. And I just remember being sat in this room thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be sick. That's all I could think is, I'm going to be sick. And then I was actually there when they do the process. And because we didn't know what we were having, the doctor said, we'll lift the baby up and you can tell mum what, boy or girl. So they lifted her up and I just didn't say anything because I think I was just in complete shock. Yeah. I don't think it dawned on me until even at a hospital, but until that moment when they lift her up and you think, oh my God. So yeah, it was good. And then we went, obviously Joe stayed overnight and then we came home on the Sunday. And Joe just both sort of looked at each other like,
what do we do?
Now what? I don't think we were not prepared. That's not. I don't think anything can prepare you. Do you know what I mean? As much as you read stuff online, and obviously Joe's a midwife, and people give you advice and all the rest of it. I don't think anything can really prepare you for having to actually do it, and the sleepless nights and the nappies and the nappies. All she does is poop. it's relentless. But yeah, it was really good. It's really
something good. We can relate on already.
How are you now? How was your Christmas? How have you been? It's been 5 weeks since we done the last podcast?
Oh gosh, that's ages, isn't it? I've been alright, mate. Yeah, I've been plodding along, always trying to work on myself. Still going. Well, I've only had 2 sessions, I think, actually, since I saw you to the CBT and doing a bunch of other little things here and there. But yeah, no, I'm doing alright, man. I'm doing alright. Just plodding along, really.
Yeah.
Christmas was very quiet. We went down my brother's for lunch because we've been having extension done on the house and stuff. Yeah, for my dad, for when he gets a bit older. I don't know if everybody that listens to this knows, or many people at all, but my dad's got Parkinson's. He's not too bad. Like, if you looked at him, you wouldn't necessarily. He just struggles with certain things, like with his flexibility and stuff. So that's a problem with putting his clothes on and, you know, cutting his food up, little bits like that. So we got an extension for when if he starts getting bad enough that he can't really do the stairs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I can't talk today. My words just my brain's not connected to my mouth, which is not really good for podcasting. So we've had that going on. So obviously it's a little bit. It did get finished before Christmas, but there's all stuff, you know, around the house that we'd had to move and stuff. So my brother invited us down there, which is nice children really.
And then out with Dino last night.
Yeah, I went out with Dean last night for a couple of drinks. Yeah, I shouldn't have it. You know, when you're really tired, but you think drinking will be a good idea, and then someone's like, "Do you want to go pub?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure." And then you go to the pub. I was literally falling asleep at the table for about the last 45 minutes we were there. Literally just like dropping and so that was good fun.
But no hangover this morning.
Not too bad. No, a little bit of a headache, but
we need to arrange something. Wet the baby's head. Good excuse to go out. So yeah, maybe sometime. And anyone on the podcast who wants to come and join us for a drink, come along. We'll let you know where we're going.
Do a live one.
Yeah, we keep saying that.
Every podcast is saying make that joke.
How are you feeling now? Like New Year's Eve, going into 2024. Are you feeling? There's quite a lot of people like sort of. I suppose we all do it. Sort of like reflect on 2023. Have you set yourself any goals for 2024? Like, are you? So last year, I haven't got a list anymore, but I set a goal of having a new job. I didn't do that. Reading a book every month. I didn't do that. I'll be better with money. I'm way better than that. So this year, whatever I do needs to be achievable.
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because I think we've like discussed this many times before, but like they, not necessarily all of them, but like some of them sound so simple. Like even like the reading the book thing, but it's just finding time, isn't it? And the whole saving money thing, it's so difficult. I really struggle with it because my goal's about the same as that really. Like again for this year, just try to sort my diet out, you know, lose a bit of weight because I'm just piling it on at the moment. Save as much money as humanly possible, but again, like I've just had payday last week and I'm already like, what little random crap can I buy that I really don't need and I'll use for like 10 minutes and never use again? Like,
I think what made me laugh is you sent or put it on Instagram or something of your Monzo that said about your top 10%.
Yeah, 5%.
That's what your. Is that your money goes on then?
Yeah, so it was top 5% of Monzo users in the UK. I hope it was.
Were?
Yeah, and I think I googled it. There's 7.5 million Monzo users, and I'm in the top 5% for McDonald's. So I worked it out actually because you can look at your transactions. I average at least one a week, and that's just on Monzo. But obviously, sometimes I use other banks or like physical cash, so it's probably like 2 a week average.
Do you know what? As well, like, I do the same as well. Like, normally, I get paid, and I go right, going to start saving money, and that. And for the first sort of week and a half, I'm making lunch every day, and then I just get bored, and then end up spending just like £7 on a meal deal or whatever else. You look at it and it's quite sobering when you go through like your bank statement online and you're like, damn. Right. So that is something. I mean, even harder, mortgage and babe and all the rest of it. But it is trying to save a bit of money this year. And my life will change as well because I haven't got the freedom to just disappear down the pub.
So you might not necessarily save more money, but you might spend less than you think you will because you're actually staying at home more.
I suppose like, in a weird sort of way, that's probably one thing I've struggled with actually a little bit is it does sound awful to say struggled with, not the right thing to say, but like cabin fever, if that makes sense. Like I have popped out a couple of times just for an hour. So I just sort of said to Jo like, I don't do well being sat in, because when she sleeps, and predominantly, annoyingly, she is now, she's asleep, so she sleeps all day and awake all night, which is fantastic. So when she's asleep, obviously you can't just disappear all day, but I do sort of say to Jo, like if she's going for a sleep with her, like, I'm going to pop out for an hour, just to don't do well with being set in and chance to overthink and been stuck with my own thoughts, so to speak.
Have you been struggling with the overthinking in terms of with the baby? So does it amplify your anxiety? I would imagine maybe.
I had 1 or 2 days. I think when me and you were chatting on WhatsApp, weren't we? Where I don't even know what it was. I don't know whether or not it was a mixture of like lack of sleep, stress, and then just sort of building it or overthinking everything. But in another way, it's almost helped because I haven't had the opportunity to think. I think it will be when I go back to work on Tuesday, if I get them quiet bits during the day, knowing that Joe's at home with a baby, I think that's probably, and then being sleep deprived as well, I think that's probably when I suppose it will affect me more maybe.
Yeah.
But no, at the moment, other than I said, we were talking last week maybe the week before. So, but other than that, it's not been too bad. I think at the moment just running on adrenaline, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like dreading, like with all my heart, dreading going back to work on Tuesday. Like,
I can imagine, yeah.
Like it's hard enough. I mean, I've been off for when I go back, it'll be just under 3.5 weeks, which is a long time off. So yeah, not looking forward to that. But so without saying too much, hopefully some positive news in 2024. Just in case anyone from work is listening to this, I'm going to drop myself in it. So yeah, hopefully some positives, and just trying to. One of the things I'm going to try and do is, I've got all the exercises about controlling the overthinking and the anxiety. So just try. That's what I'm trying to be better at going into 2024. Is I probably won't, but try and control it better and control the overthinking and try and almost care less about what people think, which I'm not good at. But that's sort of one thing that I thought I need to get better at, because the amount of mini breakdowns I've given myself this year because I've worried about stuff that's you don't need to worry about. Do you know what I mean? Or stuff that's almost like building. Like I've touched on it before, like building a scenario in your head, and you're like, "What are you doing?" Like it's just. And I know I said to you before, like when I'm doing it, like I know what I'm doing is like stupid, and I don't know, but you just do.
Yeah, because if you, again, I can cut this out, but what you were referring to earlier was because a week or so ago you said you had a sudden feeling that me and one of our other friends like really didn't like it.
Yeah.
Sort of out, and I mean, like I suppose sometimes there's situations where I can look back and think, well, yeah, maybe I have been not reaching out or ignoring it a bit, but I feel like this one was like so left field because it was just out of nowhere almost. Like we were talking like normal, and you suddenly was like, I have a feeling you.
Yeah, I don't even know what that was. I think a lot of it is just like a more recent, I suppose. I keep going back to it, but like just something like sleep, like when you're sat there like 3 o'clock in the morning, like trying to rock a baby to sleep, and you've got all these like. I think that's part of it, but yes, that's something I have to focus on in like 2024. Is like, that one, you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
And two, like 99 times out of 100, like the issue that I'm making is just me making. The issue.
Yeah. We do. We live in our heads, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. I think we all do to an element, don't we? I mean, I've got some friends who say who just never seem bothered about anything, and I think I'd love to be like that, but I do then think in my head things must bother you. Nobody can be that carefree. I just don't.
And I also think it helps you because I think, oh, hello.
Oh dear, I'm ignoring that. Sorry.
Yeah, I also think in some ways it helps because I think you're a bit like me, like a bit of an empath, and I think if we didn't have that side of us where we're anxious about what people think of us, we wouldn't be able to sympathise and empathise with other people so much, if you know what I mean. I sometimes feel like if I didn't care so much about what other people thought of me, maybe that in my levels of care in general about the world and about people would disappear, and that's something that there's a lot I don't like about myself, as everyone has that, don't they? Everyone has a big litany of things they absolutely hate about themselves, a big list of things. But one thing I do kind of like about myself, which is always hard to talk about things you like about yourself, but is the fact that I care about people. Do you know what I mean? I'm not I have a lot of empathy for people, and I think with that in some ways, I just think it seems to me that ties in with that whole worrying about what people think of you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think as well, the same as we're saying, I think I do try and do, if I can help someone, I will. And I want to try and be like everyone's friend and make sure, and it's almost unhealthy, I suppose. You want everyone to like you, and that's impossible because you just doesn't happen, and you drift, like friendship drift. I mean, I've got people who I used to speak to all the time, who I don't speak to as much anymore, who you sort of message and then don't get a reply, and you're like, and then you'll see them and you're thinking, or they put a message in a group chat to you, and you're thinking, well, I know you've seen my message now, but and that's another thing. I just sort of think to myself now, like, fine, right? Yeah, I've tried to reach out, like, you know, and you're not interested. And I think as well, people, and I'm not going to say the person's name, so I won't drop them in it, but I've had someone message me a little while ago, like, about not feeling like they're not in the inner circle of our friendship group. And when I asked them why, it was, oh, well, I don't ever get invited out and this and that and the other. And then when I look back at it, I think, actually, we always invite you out. You just never come. And at the time, it really annoyed me. And I thought, actually, no, if that's how they feel, then there's an underlying reason for it. And, like, so I then spoke to them and just said, like, there's definitely no inner circle. Like, or if there is, I'm not part of it. I don't know about it if there is an inner circle. Mate, then I don't. But yeah, I think everyone fights their own battles. I think sometimes we're too quick to, and even I do it sometimes. Like, we'll be quick to maybe mock and judge and take the mick out of someone for something.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at it now. Like, I mean, you're talking about worrying that people don't like us and stuff, and then basically, I guess that's exactly what they're saying. They feel like we don't like them.
Yeah, and when I was reading the message, I felt like saying, like, messaging, like, not having a go at them as much, but like being ridiculous, like blah blah blah. But then you check them out, you think, they're not, because they're going through, I suppose, the same feelings that.
Well, that's good. Like, that's something I'm really trying to do at the minute. Is really put yourself in someone else's shoes, and it's just it sounds weird, but it's such a weight off of your shoulders yourself as well when you do that, because it's not like you're not seeing everything as like a personal attack. It's not like winding you up. Like with that situation, like you could have easily
just had a go,
ran through all these things in your head, thought about, you know, oh, you didn't do this, and you're just winding yourself up. It's and yeah, like you say, everyone's going through something. Like, that's his version of what we were just talking about, and we talk about it so freely and openly, and then he does the same, and we sort of act like it's like you get defensive. It's like we spoke about this a little while ago with that comment on TikTok. Again, I won't say what it was about because I don't want to call the person out or something, but that was when I first sort of, I think it's so hard to do it with people online, but first tried to really hone in on that thing. Because
you were better than me, because I had not a go at them, but I sort of put a message back basically saying, if you don't like what you're watching, then don't watch it, which in hindsight probably wasn't, that you took probably the more professional approach to it.
I really tried to. It was like, and I didn't like, it wasn't like an active thing, it was just kind of like, I just felt like this person's listened to it and they've disagreed with it, and they got a bit how could you put it, animated, a bit like
almost defensive, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a bit of it was a bit argumentative in places, and it's just like they're going through something, and we're, you know, if we want to improve the whole mental health space like we're hoping to do with this, we have to, even if we don't agree with stuff, I think we have to let it be. Like allow people to have their feelings, even if it goes completely against what we were thinking at the time.
And I think also as well that we weren't, I suppose, expecting that clip to go, maybe, can you class it as viral? I don't know if you can class that as viral,
I'm not sure what.
But I mean, what did it have in the end?
14,000 views. Like, quite a lot of
it's a lot of
comments. It had a lot of action on it, which is, again, obviously a testament to the words that were said in the video and how much people related to it. But like I say, there's the more eyes that are on it, the more people are going to comment. And I think I'm really trying to do that in life in general. Like, obviously, working again back at the old green.
Back in the green world, green pea world.
You come across it all the time. Like, you know yourself. Well, I mean, you get it in every job, of course, but like in retail, you constantly got people coming up and moaning to you. Constantly, you know, they've had a bad day, they're stressed, they're trying to shop with the kids and they're getting angry and they take out on you a lot. And I used to, before I went back now, because I'm trying to see it all in a different perspective, I used to either take that to heart and be like, oh, you know, in some ways I'd be like, I failed them, like, you know, or I'd get really defensive and almost want to be like, F you back. Like, and I almost have at times. Like, I've had arguments with people, like, and now I'm trying to just be like, they got their stuff going on. It's just a clash. I can let this run over my back, like, you know, water off a duck's back if I really want to, like, and I've been trying to do that.
Sounds like it's the best approach. And I get it at my job, you know, you go to a site and people will look at you like almost down their nose at you, and you think, I just like, whether you're a cleaner, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a company, like, I treat you the same way. Well, I'd like to think I do anyway, you know. I just think, don't ever look down. Just don't look down your nose. It takes not even 5 seconds to say morning, afternoon, thank you. Like, for me, like, they're like the fundamentals. And I again, one thing that I get really annoyed with is, I suppose I'm playing my anxiety, is if and I've touched on this before at work, if I walk past someone at work and say morning, and they don't say morning back, I do that bit where, oh, what have I done to upset them? So then you sort of loop back round again, and you're right, like, and then a lot of the time it's because I've done it as well. Like, we're busy, we're stressed, either on a phone call, on a Teams call, or whatever else. So that's something that I'm just watching the dogs perched on the sofa. Something I'm trying to get better at is that, okay, they're just busy. No one's annoyed. No one's, you know, you're not pissed anyone off. Like, I suppose it's almost a constant fight. And I've said it a few times as well. It's like having like you see in the movies when you've got the devil and the angel and both shoulders, and they're both like, you know, no, you've upset him. Like, go and talk to him again. Go and see what's wrong. And you just think, and I do it with WhatsApp as well. Like, send a message and just another, and you just and then you think to yourself, like, why,
It's I do genuinely believe that if we want to improve the mental health space, and like, again, like, everyone talks like when you ask people what they want in life, like, a lot of people, you know, list off the whole money, blah 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 blah, and they, you know, world peace. And to me, the only way we'd ever do that is by having not only trying to put yourself in other people's shoes and have that empathy and understand where people are coming from, even if you don't agree with what they say and how they feel, but also kind of like do that with yourself a little bit as well, if you know what I mean, like sympathise with yourself. Because one thing I always do with in terms of like feeling like everyone hates me and doesn't like me is I then get annoyed that I have those. I think we spoke about this before, but get annoyed that I have those feelings. It's just kind of realising that it's normal. That's something I've been really trying to do recently, because I don't think it was the last session, it might have been the one before, but the therapist was talking to me and going through, I think it might have been the one before that, because I think I spoke about it briefly on the last podcast we did, but I usually feel like I can read people very well. So like, when people are a certain way, part of me think, right, they're like this because of this, they probably had this go on, you know, in their childhood and stuff. But when it came to myself, I always just felt like I was just born this way. So all my little like narcissistic tendencies now, I was always just like, no idea where this has come from. And one thing that going to like therapy has been good for is going through all the past, even if it's stuff you didn't think affected you, going through all the stuff that's happened in your past. Like, I think we've pretty much just like started from the beginning and gone through, and it's been really good because it's kind of made me realise that some of the stuff I went through, not necessarily when I was like a child, but like in my teenage years, easily could affect the reason I do things now. You know, like my first taste of a relationship was with someone who used to hit me, who cheated on me like throughout the whole entire thing. It was like proper manipulative. And like my family life back then, like my brother used to beat the shit out of each other all the time, like, and I was sort of sometimes stuck in the middle and all these things, and like I just sort of pushed them back and never thought they could be affecting me now, when in reality it probably does cause a lot of the issues I've got now. And it's trying to sort of, you know, basically just sort of understand a bit more about my childhood, and maybe, how can I put it? I just like, I don't know, part of me started like talking to my childhood self. Does that make sense? I'm talking to the me that's like 19 and being like, it's all right. Like you're going through loads of shit. It's all right. Because I don't think I really had that back then.
But I think, especially as blokes, we don't accept our emotions very well. We just don't. Like, even like when Frankie was born, I had a part of me that thought of my mum, because we're middle name's Tracy and the rest of it. I'm going to get upset now, but it's all right. I'm good. And there was part of me that was like, almost annoyed at myself at first, because what are you being upset for? Why are you getting upset for? But I look at it and, yeah, part of me does get upset, because I think she should be here to meet her. And...
Oh, mate, come on. She'll be so proud of you, man.
But I think as little blokes, we just don't accept that. And I took a moment and thought, actually, you know what? You can be, like, if actually it's happy and it's a good thing, like, you can be upset because, like, she's missed out on a big part, and she's not met Ollie, who's my sister's little boy. You just think, whereas before, I think I used to just think, and I've touched it before, like, being ridiculous, like, get over yourself almost. Now I just sort of took a moment and just thought, no, you're allowed to be pissed off. You're allowed to be, as much as it's an amazing time. And again, I think even with it being so close to Christmas and he was born and New Year, I think you reflect more this time of year anyway. But yeah, I think that's something I'm trying to do. Same as you, just if you're angry, accept being, almost embrace it, embrace the being angry, letting myself get upset, because I just think bottling things up don't help. And I think as blokes we do that, don't we? And it normally, it all comes to almost like a head. Someone loses their temper and says things in a moment that they don't mean. And even, you know, last 3 weeks with Frankie being home, you know, me and Joe not even argue, but you get to a bit at like 3 o'clock in the morning when she's non-stop crying, and you can feel yourself getting short of each other. But I said to Joe as well, like, almost like embrace it and then talk about it and then move on, because again, 3 o'clock in the morning and you're trying to keep your cool, and one thing's said and you snap and then they snap back, and then it's just talk about it. I'm sorry if I should have snapped you. I'm sorry I should have snapped back at you. Again, just trying to almost embrace it and just accept my feelings more this year, which, you know, I'm quite a emotional man anyway. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve, is that the same? And I think just be proud of that, and if people don't like that, then that's up to them. Yeah.
And it's usually, I think, just a reflection of people, because people probably don't understand it because they have tucked it away. So when they see people letting it go, so to speak, they find it strange, or, you know, maybe in some ways not jealous, but maybe they just wish they could be more like that. And it's like, I think that happens quite a lot, to be honest. But yeah, you've got to embrace it. Like, I always think of it like you've got that little like child version of you still in there. Yeah. That's the way I look at it, and it's like I was alluding to earlier, it's just like letting that child that's in there just know that it's okay. Like, you've thrown a tantrum, it's fine. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's okay. You can do that. It's fine. Like, we don't have to race to be like this, you know, like you see the Hercules figure on telly, you know, strong masculine man who doesn't let anything get to him. It's like, it's bullshit. Like, and if you pretend that that's, you know, if you pretend that's like the ideal and that's what you want to be, then and people do. Like, I've got friends who, you know, walk around or not and act like
nothing ever bothers them, whether it's, you know, finishing a relationship or problems at work or whatever else, and they're just... And part of me looks at them and admires them because I'm like, well, nothing seems to bother you. But the other part of me looks at them and almost feels a little bit sorry for them, because I think like no one's indestructible, you know. And sometimes I just hope that they're not suffering in silence, or they don't feel they can't talk to someone, or because part of the reason we're doing this is obviously for mental health, but almost more for men's mental health, because as blokes we don't have enough of these conversations. You know, we've got friends who close to us who struggle, who we try and talk to, who are still, you know, within their self, but hopefully with us doing this, even if they don't talk to us, they choose to go and talk to someone who's professional, because we're by no means professional. Then that's what I keep saying it in all the podcasts. I recommend it, and I think you're feeling the benefits, aren't you, from your cancer?
100%. Honestly, it's like it's still a hell of a lot of way to go, but I feel like, how can I put this? Because I'm really struggling talking today. I'm going to put it down to going out last night. I feel like therapy for me, and I think this comes partly from me being a little bit selfish in a way. It's been a bit like, I know what's best, but it's given me, like, let's use a metaphor of food, because, you know, 5% McDonald's things proves that that's all that I ever think about. But it's like, it's given me the ingredients. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Where before I didn't have any ingredients. It's given me the ingredients. It's now on me to try and make this meal. but you know what I mean? No, it's given me tools, and it's up to me to try and use them, because I don't know. Like I was saying earlier about me recognising that some stuff I went through when I was younger is maybe the reason why I am how I am now. But I still don't know properly how to navigate that, other than trying to tell myself that what I was feeling back then is okay. I don't know where to go necessarily with that, but at least it's opened my eyes to the possibility that I'm not just the way I am because this is how I am. You can
recognise it now.
Yeah. I don't know. It's almost like I was... Because I used to talk about my past, but even if I was talking about it, I wouldn't necessarily believe that it could have caused the issues. I think it's more like, well, if, you know, for other people, I know this could cause issues, but this isn't what's causing mine. Do you know what I mean? It's really strange.
Bit of denial almost.
Yeah, I think so. So even if I was like talking to people saying like, yeah, I had a rubbish relationship when I was like 15, you know, she was pretty bloody horrible to me, like, I still wouldn't be associating that with how I am now. I'd just be sort of passing it off. Like, it happens. Yeah. It's like it happens to a different person.
Almost in denial then, like you said. Like, I think we all do that, don't we? Almost put anything that's negative, we try and put to the back of our minds, lock it away in a little box. Whereas, and that's what I've done, certainly, like through loads of stuff. I mean, you know, you put it to the back of your head, you lock it away, don't talk about it, because you think almost that's what you're not trained to do, but that's what you're a man, and you don't cry and blah blah blah. And then you look at it and you think, actually, do you know what? Like, I always feel better after a bit of a cry or a bit of a rant, and I say that this helps me massively. Like, I don't know about you, but just we almost to get on like Claire and spend 45 minutes, an hour, or whatever, just like today, not even like a particular subject, but I suppose just talking. I think
it's like
down in the background.
It's like I always, like, as you know yourself, like, I used to, and obviously still do, like, hang around with a lot of females. Like, I like, some of my best friends have been females over the years. Like, not ones that I've been romantically associated with. I just mean in general, like friends, like completely platonic relationships. And I always felt a bit weird and always kind of like questioned why I always got on with females better. But I think that is why. It's because they, on a whole, and again, obviously this is just on a whole, and it's a bit stereotyping here, but they're way more open. Like, they've got that, like, maternal instinct where it's like, if I want to speak to them about something deep, a little bit emotional and stuff, I just feel like they're going to receive it better and be more caring, where I think even with my close male, obviously it's a lot different now. I feel like we've opened up a lot more, but even my close male relationships, maybe even like a few years ago, I felt like I couldn't really talk about that type of stuff.
And I think even now there's still an element where, as much as we're open about it, if we were all sat down spoons on a Friday night or a Saturday night, would we? I think that our friendship group are close enough that we'd notice whether or not someone wasn't their self, but I still think there'd be a little bit that maybe wouldn't be open to talking.
It wouldn't be 100% as open. It wouldn't be anywhere near as open as this, I don't think.
No. And
I suppose it depends on numbers. Like I could imagine me, you, and someone else maybe getting deep. If there's like 4 or 5 of us, I don't think it would.
And it's difficult as well, isn't it? Because you don't want to be the guy that brings the mood down. That's the thing as well. Whereas again, sometimes it's okay to be that person, and I suppose, but you don't want to be the guy that sat in Wetherspoons crying. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's difficult, isn't it? So, despite doing this, I still do think there's a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Resilience, almost, to talk about it.
Like a resistance.
That's it. Yeah, but I think it's better than it was. Definitely better than it was even 4 or 5 years ago. Because 4 or 5 years ago, I'd go counselling, and used to go to Mind on the corner opposite Orbit Tyres. I'd look round and make sure no one saw that I was going in there, and or if you had to press the bell, like, oh god, I hope no one walks past and sees me. Whereas now, like, I think I wouldn't care. I don't care if someone saw me. I don't care. But it's just how much it's changed in 5 years and hopefully. And then you're always going to get some people who, I know how people say it to me before, I don't believe in mental health. Or was it, I don't believe in mental health, it's all in your head. I'm thinking, well, like, of course it is. Like,
it's in the clue,
yeah. But, yeah, I just, like I said, I hope for us doing this, and it helps and encourages people to talk and to open up and to not... Yeah, if you'd said to me 4 years ago, you're going to sit with a microphone and a camera on you and talk about how you're feeling, I'd have gone like, yeah, right. Whereas now...
It's true. I still feel guarded about some stuff. I was thinking this just a minute ago when we were running through it, though. Like, actually, this is an example from my past, but I used to have this weird thing in my past where I used to not want people to know that, like, especially my family, or particularly my family, that, like, I liked music and stuff. Like, we're talking when I was a lot younger, maybe. Like, say, 10 years old, 15, maybe up to, like, I don't know, 13, 14. So weird, isn't it? Like, little thing. I don't know if that was like, it just came into my head. I was just thinking about it then. I was thinking, why did I not used to
let them? Yeah, that's a different.
Whether again that was like I didn't want them to think I was capable of like feelings. Obviously, I was listening to like probably like sad music back then, so maybe I was a bit like. But I used to almost be embarrassed. Weird, and it just popped into my head.
No. But it's good to know that sort of thing.
Yeah,
as well,
and I still get it now with like as you've probably. Well, I think I spoke about it a little bit before, and you might have got little clues from bits of posts online and stuff. But like, I quite like learning about spirituality and stuff. Like, I always have. I've always had a bit of fascination with it. I think it came from a little bit of like doing hallucinogenics when I was younger, and then I learned meditation to try and help with my mental health. And I think naturally, when you're doing something, you get a bit inquisitive. So you're like, where does meditation come from? And it leads you down a path. But I even still get a bit. Not embarrassed is the word, but a bit
conscious.
Yeah, about speaking about that and doing those practices and stuff. Yeah. And I think as well, it's a little bit because I feel like I'm a massive paradox. I was saying this to my friend Tim, because I've gone to these things before on my own, and now one with him called Katans, where it's like they basically do mantras and chanting and stuff, and it just lasts. It's kind of like a concert, if you imagine, but doing music, and they do chants and stuff, and you all join in, and it gets a bit trance-like. Because my first ever one, I remember being like, "What is it?" Like, I remember like doing it, trying to get into it, but then opening my eyes midway and seeing all these people doing like ecstatic dances and in like a trance state, and I remember being like, "What the fuck am I doing?" But then after you go to a few of them, you start getting a little bit into it yourself and stuff. And you come away with like this really good feeling. It makes you feel really present, because I suppose in a sense it is like a meditative experience, because you're concentrating on the chanting and stuff as opposed to everything else that's going on. But I remember I had the conversation with Tim when we went to one in London, and I remember saying to him, I feel like it's such a paradox, because 1 minute I'm going stuff like that, and then a week later I'm going, listening to rap music before I go out, having a few drinks, getting banter, having banter with my mates, going to the football, chanting abuse at people. It feels like maybe I'm just scared because it seems like such a paradox. But then at the same time, that's kind of the beauty of life, isn't it? Is you can take what you want from different areas. Like I can do
I admit, so I look at so I've never done meditation, never really even looked into it. So from the outside looking in, when you first started it, I used to look at it and think, because I, as most people probably do, think that meditating is sat there with your legs crossed and humming, because
that's what I'm telling you.
And I'd imagine there's a lot more that goes into it than that. But I suppose I did, not so much now, but I did at the first look at it thinking,
and even I did. When I first got into it, I looked at it more like a medical thing. Does that make sense? Because I think I first did it because I don't know. I can't remember if it was a doctor recommended it. It probably was, or a therapist and stuff. So I did it, and it was more like it was a, kind of I suppose breathing exercises. Do you know what I mean? You do breathing exercises, and it's like a medical thing to try and help you get over your anxiety. I looked at it as that, and then I delved into it a little bit. But even back then, when I first started doing it, and then I was reading about it and seeing it, I was like, this is a bit woo-woo. Do you know what I mean? There's all people sat around and they're talking about God, and there's a bit this is strange. And like I say, the first time I went to, it's taken off. When I was in that first Catan, I remember looking around, like I was saying earlier, and being what is going on? But I suppose again, sometimes you don't understand stuff until you really throw yourself into it, proper into it. But I can honestly say that if I didn't practice meditation, if I didn't try to follow a spiritual path as such and read a lot about Eastern philosophy and stuff, I honestly think my mental health would be 1,000,000 times worse. I genuinely believe that.
You find that it does help you?
Yeah. Massively, I think, or at least it did back in the day as well, when I first got into it as well. I think it's sometimes hard because I was doing a lot of hallucinogenic drugs back in the day as well, just before I started doing the meditation stuff, and that kind of opens you up a bit to it a bit more. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't call myself a massively religious person, but it did lead me down a bit of a different path, I think. And you'd
recommend it?
Yeah, especially trying to live in the moment a little bit. I think it really helps. Like I say, people might look at me now and be like, my God, he's a proper narcissist, anxious, fucking emotional little bastard. But you imagine what it would have been like if I didn't do it. That's what I always say to people, I was so much worse back then.
Yeah, and I say the same about when it comes to the podcast and that, and counselling. That's all helped. And I think to myself, especially with counselling, Jesus, what would it have been like if I'd never done counselling? That's, I'd have been a nightmare to live with, and I suppose I stood down to a point, a bit of a nightmare to live with. But I do look at it and think, God, blimey,
what would you have done if you?
I think it definitely does. Well, it's definitely helped me 100%. The counselling.
That's good, because I always the one thing I've been a little bit scared. I think we mentioned this before as well. Is about going back on medication.
Are you still not gone back on it yet?
No. I've been offered it, but I'm still a bit.
And I get it. I take medication, like I said, but there is part of me that I said that I've touched on that I don't want to become dependent on it. I've been taking it now for I don't know, this new one, say nearly 2.5 years, maybe even longer than that. And I just don't want to be here in maybe another 2.5 years still taking it. But then I think to myself, if I come off it, then I can almost feel when I'm not taking it, if that makes sense. So if for a couple of days I'm not taking it, I don't even a couple of days, maybe a week or so, I can feel it. And sometimes Joe could even say, you're not taking medication, have you? She can tell. So then part of me is it obviously does something, because if Joe can tell and I can tell, there's obviously a connection somewhere.
Yeah, sometimes it takes somebody else to reflect it back at you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even know what that you're in a bit of a mood until someone points it out. I find that sometimes.
Yeah. Or they go, "What's wrong?" And you think nothing. And you think, well, actually, no, maybe I am a little bit short, not myself, or yeah, definitely.
I'm going to throw out a little bit. This might be a bit hard to answer this question actually, because you've not been a parent for very long. We're going to throw a question out to you. Do you feel like you've learned anything about yourself or about your relationship now having young Frankie?
Yeah, I think I've learned that I'm more adaptable than I thought I would. I'm not good with change, if that makes sense. So I think, but yeah, it's almost just sort of done it without even thinking about it, if that makes sense, because it's difficult to go from having really no responsibilities other than each other and the dogs, So, do you want to go out tomorrow night? Yeah, go out tomorrow night. Or do you want to go out? Yeah, we'll go out and do this, or we're going to go and do that, or we're just going to go and see Joe's parents or whatever, 2.5 hours away. Whereas now you have to, you've got someone else to think about, if that makes, which is, and it's amazing, and I wouldn't change it. I do find even Christmas time, everyone down the pub and everything, and part of me was like, oh yeah, I could go for a beer, but part of me was like, why? I don't need to. You've got everything you need here. Yeah. So I think I surprised myself almost of how I've adapted. So it's a good experience so far. A hard experience. I think people will try and prepare you for it, but I don't think anything can prepare you for it. And it is just more. It's just a sleep. She's brilliant, but it is just, as you can see now, I'm asleep all day. And she comes alive about 11 o'clock at night, and just then that's her kicking off till the early hours of the morning.
So cute though. No.
Yeah. She's not cute at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can tell you that. But no, it's it's amazing, and it tests everything about you as well. Your mental health and your physical health, everything, because whereas before she came along, if I was tired or in a bad mood or just go and have a lay down or go and have a sleep, whereas you can't do that now. So it's about communication is the biggest part of it, and teamwork. I sort of at the moment doing the night shift until I go back to work. Obviously I can't be up till 3 o'clock in the morning and then go to work, so it would then be coming back from work and then taking over so then Joe can go and have a sleep. And it's just about adapting, which I surprised myself with, because I think it's more the dogs that have pissed off. I think Lucy's had her nose well and truly put out a joint by her turning up.
Someone else getting a bit more attention.
Yeah, she's not keen. She's does keep looking at me like, when's this person going back? Because they've been here for 3 weeks now and they're still here. But yeah, on the whole, it's going really well.
Good. I'm really glad, and I think we all knew it anyway. But you and Joe are going to make exceptional parents, and
hopefully.
Yeah, do wish you all the best. She's absolutely adorable.
And one day she'll be playing for all the Lionesses, mate. And
Starting her early.
Yeah, I'm going to get her in the old England kit and get her started out. So yeah, it's good, mate. It is going well.
Beautiful. Right, I guess that's a very nice place to string, because it's been nearly an hour already. Jesus Christ.
Quick, isn't it?
Right, so yeah, we will catch you on the next one.
Yes, Happy New Year, people.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year.